very much. We'll bring you on right before the finals for one last time in NGE Shadowverse Open number 6. It's been crazy, a lot of crazy games here, but we're going to be jumping into Joker vs. Lest now.
Yep. And on one hand, we have the player who's not using Shadow, who's really taking a risk, I'd say, and on the other side, we have our previous week champion, previous week finalist. So we'll see how these two players can stack up against each other in this matchup.
Let's begin.
All right. Oh my God, he gets it on every mulligan. I feel like
every time. Yeah, we've seen it so much. Haven't seen it play today, but we've seen it in his hand a few times.
Yeah. And there it is. Now we finally get to see Chun-Li. We got all hyped about it at first, and then it kind of we were devoid of the opportunity. But now
we were robbed.
Robbed.
There's a Lancer coming out on the first turn for Joker.
So he's got some tools here in the early game with the Novice Trooper.
Yeah, there's not really a solid answer that Lest has to deal with that. He doesn't have Blazing Breath. He doesn't have Breath of the Salamander. The only 3-drop he has in his hand right now is the Goblet Mage.
Some interesting things to note here. Lest does not have Ramp, does not have Forte. Instead is kind of ward heavy on Rahab. The Goblin Mage is probably going to draw Zell. Yep.
Right.
And so he is going to have a late game Zell option, but then he has 3 of his 10 cost drops. It's kind of an awkward. Les won't be able to be as aggressive as he was when we saw him in the round of 8.
Frozen with 2 troopers, being able to get a massive amount of face damage this early in the game.
Lots of removal here, few followers in Les's hand, and one of his followers is going to not be relevant for a while.
Right.
And I wonder if that's going to change things. In fact, the board clear has come down here.
Yeah, Lest has drawn Bahamut, Zeus, and the Genesis Dragon. Come turn 10, he's going to have pretty much all the options he needs, all the turn 10 options he needs to deal with Joker. And it looks like, with the Floral Fencer evolved.
Could Floral evolve, he could Whole Soul evolve.
Yeah.
He could Geno evolve.
Yeah, the Floral Fencer would not have had enough attack damage to take out the Rahab, but it wouldn't have died itself. They both would have been standing with 4 attack, 1 defense.
Ala, this is the first opportunity really for Les to ramp, but so far, I mean, it seems like Joker has been more than willing to just go face. And in fact, any kind of Storm card here for Joker is going to be the biggest boon he can have.
Right.
Ugh,
as you say, the Storm card, Taji.
Yeah.
The 1/1/1.
He would have really preferred something like Albert or Oidas.
Yeah, especially on turn 6. No doubt. Ooh, the Scyther. Absolutely great getting to deal with.
Overflow as well, so it's going to have that Storm.
Yeah.
He's actually going to commit it.
Interesting to summon it this turn. If he trades in, he's going to be left alive with 1 health.
I think Les has identified that he really wants absolutely to survive the turn 10.
Yeah, he does not.
And we talked about how dangerous this matchup is once Dragoncraft gets to that point. I think Les has identified, spend the resources to get there, and then we'll worry about it then.
Right.
But there's still a lot of great options in hand here for Joker. He still has Fangblade as well on next turn, and that's really going to, I mean, until turn 10, ball is still in Joker's court.
Right. And I love to see the circle that we have between Ouroboros and Fangblade Slayer, the kind of stalemate that players reach. Fangblade dealing 3 damage to face, killing the Ouroboros. Ouroboros kills the Fangblade, and then you just heal back up to where you were initially.
I still think Joker needs to draw into a really great option, like maybe an Albert or something. He has 1 more turn to do so.
Right.
Because he's only going to hold Lest at 11 health.
He's been on turn 8 now for just a little while, and he still hasn't drawn Albert at any stage of the game until now.
I almost wonder if there's a world where if Les draws, he's got 4 10-drop cards here. And certainly once it hits that point, it's going to be really tough to deal with.
He's still going to have the Ouroboros next turn.
Gonna probably play Ouroboros again.
Yep.
And I think this
could be absolutely game-ending for Frozen if he cannot draw a
he
solid
needs an
answer
option
this
now.
turn.
Oh, that hurts.
without an Evolve Orb, his only option is to summon the Luminous Mage, evolve, and attack the Ouroboros, but then he's just healing again, and then Lest is going to be able to summon Bahamut, Zeus, Genesis Dragon.
I mean,
Any
based on
option
the
he
options,
needs.
Lest might actually just win by just dropping Genesis Dragon, swinging face, dropping Genesis Dragon, swinging face. Just because of threat of lethal if Joker doesn't clear.
Right.
He's lost his moment of opportunity.
I really like the choice to play Zeus on the next turn as well. It can be so difficult for Swordcraft to deal with unless you have a Tsubaki. That Bane is absolutely nasty.
And he's going to leave the Ouroboros on the table here. Which means that he has 15 damage ready to go with Genesis Dragon.
Right.
Or he could just swing with Ouroboros and drop Bahamut, heal up,
Right.
clear
Yeah,
the
if he
board.
played Genesis Dragon, went for face, and then Frozen draws Albert on the next turn,
It's risky.
it's risky.
Very risky.
I mean,
so I think
it's a
Bahamut is the right choice here.
There's 28 cards left in the deck for Joker. 3 of them are Albert.
I definitely think.
Yeah, I think Bahamut attacking for face with Ouroboros, healing by destroying Ouroboros with Bahamut. I think that's a stellar.
There it is.
I won't lose again.
What a turn. And that is
3 instances of Joker drawing Taji at those high stages, at those high play points.
Really, I mean, there was a lot of pressure coming out early from Joker with the Novice Troopers. Would have much preferred to have those Katana Unsheathed early on. Maybe even on turn 1, right? Turn 1, turn 2, and then you start playing Novice Troopers to keep swinging. The strategy was there to swing for face, but just not enough to kind of tide himself over. Once the Ouroboros started coming down, it really caused a lot of problems. And we talked about how that reach is so just barely, even if the Dragon didn't have any ramp. In this case, the options were there for less, so he's going to move on, or rather his Dragoncraft deck is going to move on. Now he's going to rely on the Shadowcraft deck. I have to wonder if the Swordcraft deck will be pulled out again here by Joker.
We'll see. He could choose
I think
to stay with the
it has to be.
Swordcraft.
That's the only thing that would make sense. No, he's going to play his Dragoncraft deck, and he's using Ryu.
Come on.
I would imagine, and maybe you want to try to get a consistent matchup. We talked about the Wrath Drake a little bit and how possibly valuable it could be against his Shadowcraft matchup, so maybe he just at least wants to maintain some kind of footing in this match before dealing with Swordcraft for his Shadowcraft.
He does have Blazing Breath and Zell, so he's got some early tempo, some early control to try to mitigate a lot of the advantages that Shadowcraft needs to have at the early stages of the game, but there's not even a 1-drop, and he did come into two drops as well this turn with the Lyrial and the Reaper.
The sky's my destination.
Zell dropping.
Eyeballs works us to the bone.
Even then, Joker is going to be able to get rid of that follower this turn and go for face, as well as summoning another follower, summoning another Zell if he wants to do that, just to get even more pressure on the board this
And
early
he
in the
does.
game.
You're mean.
He does.
And now Shadowcraft, the early aggressor, is on the back foot in this matchup.
Has to play just the Catacomb or maybe the Shadow Reaper, but that means that you're going to guaranteed take 4 more damage, which...
And without...
Oh, and the Wrath
does
Drake
have
in hand
Raha,
as well.
And these Zells could completely clear the board and still stay alive with 1 health as well.
So many good options.
Oh, he's gonna keep
you
the one
have the
skeleton
Sybil
on.
or the Wrath Drake on next turn.
Yeah, Joker left the skeleton alive, knowing that Wrath Drake could be coming out. Oh, but even if it does, that Reaper's going to be on 2 health. He's going to have to trade one of the Zells in.
I have no regrets.
He's going to pass it over. And again, we see a situation where here comes Sybil. So much damage.
You're mean.
Yeah, what a massive amount of pressure that Joker was able to put out in the mulligan. He kept Death's Breath, and he got Zell as well. And there wasn't those early options for Lest in his hand as well.
Right, the Blazing Breath was really key there.
Yeah, and Joker, seeing the advantage that he has, was able to take it and run away with it in this game.
Now he's going to swing the Princess in, and the last Ready Effect, he's not really concerned with losing that card as well.
Even if he did lose it, the Reaper would have gotten stronger as well,
No
but
regrets.
alas, he has to trade the Reaper into the Zell. He knows that he's bleeding out. He has to mitigate as much damage as he can. One more turn until the Wrathdrake has its enhanced ability. Breath of the Salamander would clear the board and put the Goblin King in the hand of Lest, and then he'd be able to go for face damage with the Sybil as well if he wanted to evolve it. Get another 6 damage to face, putting Lest at 6 health. I think that's what he's going to do. He might not evolve the Sybil, but even then, if he puts Lest at 6 health, and he's got Ouroboros next turn, that's going to be another 3 damage as well, and healing that he's going to be able to get. This is massive for Joker.
Such a fast-paced Dragoncraft deck. And it seems to be playing exactly how Joker wanted it to. There's a Goblin King. Just trying to stop some of that pressure. We'll be able to take down the Sybil and leave it at 1 health.
All must come to an end.
Now with the Ouroboros, use its ability on the Goblin King or go for face damage as well this turn. He's gonna go for the Goblin
King, and I think that's smart. 7 damage is nothing to laugh at.
Right. And there is a Death's Breath in the hand of Lest. So the wards will help keep him alive, but the Wrathdrake in his hand as well. It's going to be able to clear off that board. But the Ouroboros going as if Lest didn't evolve that, he would have lost the game.
Yeah. He needed to spend the resource.
Yep.
And there's so much overhealing as well. Joker has not taken any kind of pressure. Lest has just constantly been trying to find some kind of footing.
No, he could summon Ouroboros again just for another 3 damage to face. And then kill it off the next turn. I think he's deciding whether or not he wants to do that or go for board clear. He's going to go for the Ouroboros instead of the Wrathdrake.
Fight with all I've got.
He's going to remove one of the wards, too. There's so many different avenues that Joker can approach to kind of closing out the match here.
Yeah, so Lest can't attack the Ouroboros. He can't destroy it. Otherwise, next turn, the Ouroboros is just going to end the game.
But that means that he needs... I mean, it's just a tough spot, right? Because you need to make sure your wards survive. You also need to make sure the Ouroboros can't kill itself. And the Wrathdrake is still sitting there.
The Wrathdrake is going to be able to clear the board off entirely. Even then, he just drew into a Lightning Blast. That is absolutely massive. That's going to be game for Joker being able to close out this series 1-1.
This is incredible aggression. And Lest, I think, struggled for options in that game. Just the fact that he wasn't able to catch on the early game meant that he had no opportunity to play the Catacomb as well. Its effect just wasn't really strong enough to justify the turn that it would spend.
Yeah, he was forced to play the Catacomb on turn 3 all by itself.
And then he couldn't even play his second Catacomb at any point in time. It was just too far behind at that point. There were so many big followers dropping on the side of Joker's board that Catacomb would do absolutely nothing. And there was still the Wrathdrake there, right? The whole time the Wrathdrake was ready to just clean up that situation.
Just waiting for the opportune moment to play and get its maximum effect, which it absolutely did, earning Joker the victory, bringing this series 1-1. The winner of this goes to the finals.
So the situation here is Joker is back to kind of his fear, right? He avoided this matchup through his Dragoncraft deck first and saved his Swordcraft deck for second. So unless his Swordcraft deck has a good matchup against Shadow, it's still tough. It's still tough for Joker. He still has to climb out of this situation.
Oh, and there is a 1-drop from Lest. I love this. This is the absolutely perfect curve for Shadowcraft, because we've seen how nasty the Skull Beast, Sergeant, Catacomb combo can be, and he has a Lyrial Archer for the turn 4 Evolve, if he wants to use that on top of a Phantom Hell as well.
Cold Sword Swing is going to be the option for Joker.
Clearing off the board, but there is still a near perfect hand for Lest that he's going to deal with, and it could be too much for Joker to handle. See what Joker's option is. He could play Grimnir, getting that ward, which could be an absolute bear for Les to have to clear through.
Mhm.
Yeah, really thinking about his options here. He's gonna get the Trooper, going for face damage if he wants to, or even clearing off one of the Sergeants as well.
I feel like it's such a tough choice. Traditionally, I think before turn 3, you kind of deny the Catacomb play, and then afterwards, it seems all about aggression. And there, it's going to be Catacomb again, just all by its lonesome.
Yep, definitely choosing to force Les to play the Catacomb on turn 3 all by itself again. Really great choices from Joker. He really, you can tell he knows this Shadow deck inside and out. He's gotten this far, undoubtedly playing against Shadow decks, and he knows how to defeat them. He knows how to cut them off and starve them from getting the resources and the advantages that they need.
It's interesting here for Joker. He's got to think about how he most efficiently wants to play out his hand. Not the best turn 4 options.
Yeah, really would have hoped for a Geno on turn 4. Going first, it's definitely the card that you want to have in your hand for sure.
One on the board, but again, we see no Orthrus here for Les, and still just not the ideal situation. He has the opportunity to play the Shadow Reaper and then have Lyriel come in as well to kind of set up a situation where the Shadow Reaper can start getting buff.
Yeah, Les has got plenty of options here. I think Lyriel Archer is such a great play here, especially being only 2 cost, and you can still summon the Shadow Reaper as well. Getting that on the field, and with 2 followers.
You can definitely set up a good trade where you buff the Shadow Reaper and take down the Veteran Lancer, maintain the health of the Lyriel Archer, and have it be 4 damage pending.
Yeah, certainly forcing an evolve point from Joker. But when you force an evolve point, you run the risk that if they have Luminous Mage in their hand, then that's a free evolve point that they've got. Which, of course, Les doesn't know this, but Joker does have Luminous Mage in his hand.
There it is. I think that's going to be the play that Les goes for. No, he's going to ping, then swing Lyriel into the Veteran Lancer there. And maximize face damage out of that situation. Leave the Shadow Reaper to buff up on the next turn.
Yeah. And now Joker's in a position where he has to clear out the Lyriel Archer. He could leave the Skeleton, but, I mean, when you destroy it, of course, it just buffs up the Reaper even more.
My sword brings hope. I won't let
Gonna
up on you.
go for the Luminous Knight, and I like this choice.
Paladin, attack! Finally a break.
Reaper gets pumped.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. The Mage would have stayed alive, but the Knight leaves the Mage on your side of the field with 3 health.
Want to play?
But this
I
Evolved
think
Catacomb is
it's
going to be able to trade into
really-
that beautifully.
Yeah, I think it's really just Joker forcing that Evolve Orb to be spent to take down the Luminous Mage, or at least spending a lot of resources on Les' side to deal with it.
Right.
Just because you don't want that Luminous Mage to survive an extra turn, right?
There's a Floral Fencer and a Maid Leader, so he's got pretty decent 6-turn play in his hand right now. But there's 3 followers with Catacomb's ability on the field for Les.
He is ironclad.
Going to be able to take down the Shadow Reaper, and I mean, not the biggest Shadow Reaper that was played, right?
No,
I think
no.
that Joker got out of that situation pretty okay. And now he's going into the later turns with 2 Alberts ready to go. He's still got the Mage to kind of provide him extended use of Evolution Orbs. And he's got Grimnir for the very late situation, and we can see how effective Grimnir can be against Shadowcraft.
Yeah, absolutely. He's
Going first as well, he's going to lead with the first Grimnir drop.
See if the game even gets to that stage. It looks like this is going to be a bit of a drawn-out game. Both players really choosing to go for control
That's true. So far, we haven't seen any kind of Cerberus or Ector. I mean, Phantom Howl is there. And we've seen so many times how Phantom Howl can actually reach 11. I think we saw a 12 damage one today. Evolve on the Soul Squasher. Start trying to grab board clear here. And Shadow is starting to get kind of big. 4 followers ready to go. Got 3 damage, 4 damage, and 2 damage.
That is one massive board, and there's not a single target for Tsubaki, the card that he just drew. He's going to have to... Oh,
Awkward
man.
spot. You don't have
Really
8 play
difficult
points,
turn,
so you
yeah.
really can only drop 1 card here. And this might be the nail in the coffin situation.
And you can't even go for face damage with an evolved Albert.
Yeah, and you have to remove the Grimner just because of the ward, meaning that you're going to be taking 8 damage at least, plus 2 because of the Phantom Howl. If Cerberus gets dropped, it might be over.
If Cerberus or Ector comes into his hand, this game could be over, you're right. We'll see what this draw is going to be for Lest.
And it's tough, too, because you're not quite at Albert Enhanced.
Another Catacomb. What a massive board that Lest has had throughout the whole stage of this mid-game.
Going for face here as well is going to set up a good situation for Phantom Howl, so now you're opening up 2 options of victory for Les. He can either go for Phantom Howl, or he has Ector or Cerberus. You know.
He's still got the options he needs just waiting in his deck.
I really like how there's a Death's Breath waiting there.
What are you hiding inside?
Oh man, I don't think Joker's going to be able to deal with this. He's got the 1 ward, but all the followers on Lest's side of the field are going to be summoning skeletons. And there's 4 of them, and Joker has 4 health.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way that Joker is going to be able to come out of this.
Even if he were to play the ward, he could throw everything to clear it and then play the Phantom Howl. Unless he plays a ward and evolves a ward. Maybe? Because Albert will remove 1, Luminous Mage will remove another. Then Grimner comes in and evolve, you give him 5 health. Yeah, even if you swing with all your 1/1 tokens, you'll be able to take down the 5 health Grimner. And then Phantom Howl.
Yeah.
So I think that there's not a way for him to live, no matter how much you clear of this board. But that's probably going to be the play here for Joker anyways.
Yeah, Joker doesn't know that Lest has Phantom Howl in his hand. It could be anything, but with this Shadow deck, there's so many options that Lest could have in his hand to close out this game. The pressure that Lest was able to put on from the beginning was absolutely crucial. Because Lest has been sitting at 19 health and been chipping away at Joker's health this whole time.
Yeah. Joker's going to play the Grimner, evolve and in turn.
My power is uncontrollable.
Oh, and he is actually going to swing. Summons the last skeleton, but I think... Yep, there it is.
Yep.
Lest is going to move on.
Lest is going to move on and make it to the finals.
For the 2nd time in a row, he's the closest it's ever been. Making the 2nd win here.
Noah has come very close to winning 2 times. Again, we'll see if Lest is able to close it out.
That's good kung fu.
That's good kung fu. Oh man, and Joker, hey, his Dragoncraft deck was incredibly high performing.
Absolutely.
I have to wonder, I mean, Swordcraft, we've seen that deck played again and again. Didn't seem like Front Guard General, for example, was looking like a very good card in that situation. If he had that ready to go, that would have been really useful. Just ward cards in general, it doesn't seem like the Storm can catch up quite well enough in the aggression consistently enough to fight off these particular decks.